All right, our next fly is going to be one that I'm quite fond of, to be quite honest. And I know it's kind of like parents saying they love their children, but for me, this fly is one of the best all species flies that I have ever created. And this one's the Rio Bandito. It was invented out of a need for essentially a very, very easy to tie juvenile crayfish imitation, specifically for our Rio Grande cichlids, which are a really awesome native that we have here in Central Texas. It is the only native species of cichlid to the U.S., and we've got them all over the Texas Hill Country. And that's why this fly was originally invented. Since then, I've caught everything from mountain cutthroat, up in high mountain lakes, all the way to, carp and all sorts of bass and sunfish and catfish, you name it, they've eaten it. And so that's the really awesome thing about this fly. I've even caught tailwater browns on this thing, bouncing it around rocks and, right behind current seams and stuff like that, just right behind boulders. It works really, really well for that sort of stuff. But very, very easy fly to tie with a little bit of basic instruction. I think anybody could tie this. Start off, this is a size 12 TMC 403 BLJ. And you can do this on a myriad of jig hooks. This was a really, really good one for this fly. This is a tungsten slotted bead in kind of a metallic red. There's a number of brands out there. All I'm going to do is use kind of a burnt orange thread. You want to make sure that bead is situated as far up as you can get it. Burnt orange thread here, just simply start the thread, give it a trim, and we're just going to work our way down the hook. Little thread base here. And everything kind of starts at this point. So this entire fly uses essentially two materials. One is Australian possum, and that is this right here. So this is just Australian possum in a crawfish orange. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there and just tell you this is a very, very hard material to find. It used to be produced through Hairline Dubbin. They still obviously have what they call Aussie possum, but they have ceased making it in this color. So watch your hook point there, simply tie in this tail. You'll notice that I'm still kind of right. If this hook had a barb, it's still right there is where I'm tying this in. That's all I'm doing. And I'm going to go ahead and work this back up towards the bead a little bit. I'll stop just short. I'm going to come in here and trim this off about right there. If you'll notice, that leaves me a little bit of head space right there, but I can tie all that off and it's nice and clean. Just a little Australian possum tail. Very, very easy fly to tie. You're going to love this. All we're going to do is take a pair of nymph silly legs in the barred pumpkin, tie those, center them up on top, get them exactly where you want them, and I simply wrap these down towards the tail. Right before I get to the tail, I split them out each side. I'm going to try to turn this way where y'all can see it. That way, it simply, as I wrap backwards, it positions those legs on either side of the tail so that they're split out. Not on top of the tail, but actually on either side of it. So kind of on your final wrap, just kind of get right over the top, check it, make sure they're where you want them, and that should be good to go. A little tag piece there, you can just get rid of it. All right, the rest of this fly, literally all of it, from the hook bend all the way to the bead, is nothing but a spun dubbing loop. So kind of an interesting thing. All we're going to do is simply take a needle, split the thread. If you want to do this as an off hook loop, you can do this too. But I simply split the thread. This is just 8/0 here, so it's a pretty easy thread to split. I'm using Vivas. Take the under fur from any of that Australian possum, or you can even find other dubbings that are roughly that, kind of burnt orange, crawfish orange. You can find all sorts of dubbing, but it's just Australian possum under fur essentially is all this is. I am taking little patches of this dubbing, inserting it in the thread, and then I took another bit of this stuff, and this is Australian possum that I've simply taken off the hide, and I've inserted in one of those Pettyjohn magic tool clips. I'm going to simply take that, insert it into that dubbing loop, and let go. If you'll notice, I can simply make a couple initial spins with my fingers, and then spin the bobbin, so it's just spinning. And then I'm going to move all those twists up into that dubbing brush, to where now I've got this really great, tight, compact dubbing brush. If there's any like real crazy, wild stuff here, see how we've got a couple of big clumps in that brush? I don't know if that shows up real well on camera. I'm going to lose that. So basically what I have is under fur first, then the guard hairs on the other. All we're going to do here, make sure you don't catch your legs. You're going to start right there at the rear of the hook, one right in front of the other, all the way up to the bead. And you'll notice is right about the time we get to the bead, we start hitting guard hairs. And that's exactly what we want. Stroke all of this back every couple of wraps. Give that a stroke back. And we're going to just fill up that space right behind the bead. Just stroking this back. Make sure that thread tucks in there nice and neat. Couple of wraps. Give it a pull. Whip finish. Throw a couple of those in there. You can throw a little bit of head cement on this if you want, if you so desire. All right. All we're going to do to finish this fly, this is kind of the funny part, is we are going to take our dubbing brush and we are going to throw this in the hook gap here. Once again, I'm going to roll the dubbing brush. So if you have even a gun cleaning brush or something like that would work right here, where you try to get it inside the hook gap to brush that out, fluff it out a little bit, and then on the underside, just kind of tease out as much as you can. Just kind of going back and forth, tease that, make it all fluffy like. And then all we're going to do in our final step, trim the legs pretty short. They're about as long as the tail, maybe even right the same length. I don't like them super long on this. The reason why is because our cichlids, they pick up a fly. They don't actually, they don't do like normal fish do where they inhale a fly. They actually pick it up. And then here, I'm going to come in here and trim the back of the fly flush. So go right down the middle, then come in there and give it a nice, tight haircut. And I want that pretty tight, where you'll see the underside of that fly definitely has a little bit more of a flat top now. And that's what we're left with. We're left with this really great little buggy juvenile crayfish pattern. And this thing is lights out on just a wide variety of species. Absolutely love this fly for our cichlids, for our sunfish, for our bass, but I take this thing trout fishing a lot. So great all-round pattern to have in your box. I think you'll enjoy it. Easy to tie, fun to fish, and just an absolute staple in my Texas Hill Country fly box.